At what point do we stop and say, look, enough is enough? We've got to go by sex and not what you identify as because, well, you're human. I understand perhaps you are a male and you identify as a female, but when you are a male in a position where you have nowhere to go and you're surrounded by nothing but females and those human urges that we all have happen and you are obviously predisposed to violate the law in the first place anyways, it's just a recipe for disaster. And who could have possibly foreseen this coming? Quite literally anybody with a sound brain in their head. Let's read this. Female inmate claims she was, I can't even say that word, forced into physical acts that she didn't want to do by a transgender inmate who was placed in an Illinois women's prison. A female inmate at Logan Correctional Facility, Illinois' largest women's prison, has claimed in a lawsuit that she was forced to do physical things that she didn't want to do by a transgender inmate, a biological male transferred from a men's prison. So he was in a men's prison, and probably the idea was, well, he's in a men's prison. He is at risk in this men's prison because, he's a transgender, and well, hey, you know what? He identifies as a female, so let's go ahead and take him to the female prison, even though he's got all his utensils. The woman, whose name is not revealed in the lawsuit, also alleges Illinois Department of Corrections officials covered up the forced to do something physically that she didn't want to do and punished her for reporting it, claiming that the forcing her to do something that she didn't want to do allegation was false. This is going to be a difficult one to read, not only for the wording, but for the subject matter as well. The transfer of transgender inmates from male to female prisons has been a contentious policy with IDOC, the woman's attorney wrote in the lawsuit. In an attempt to justify the transfers, defendants Todd Sexton, Beatrice Calhoun, Brent Keeler, and currently other unknown IDOC employees covered up the forced to do something physically that they didn't want to do of plaintiff and tried to falsely classify it as a consensual to keep it from being considered a prison forced to do something that you didn't want to do physically Elimination Act violation. Sexton and Keeler are correctional officers at the Logan prison, while Calhoun is the warden. Yeah, obviously. It's human nature. It's human nature. It doesn't even matter. Even individuals who normally wouldn't do things like this in situations where they're confined, they do it. So you've got to figure, come on now. Is that where we're coming to? If someone, in a men's prison wants to get a chance to force someone to do something physically that they didn't want to do in a prison, then they just have to identify as a female and boom, they get transferred. Not let alone, most likely they will be the boss, because they're going to be physically the strongest one there. So they'll be the pod father, as they say. Alan Mills, head of the Chicago-based Uptown People's Law Center, confirmed to Chicago's PBS affiliate that one of his clients, Janiah Monroe, is the defendant in the lawsuit. Monroe is a biological male who identifies as a woman, has previously filed suit to be transferred to a women's prison. So he wanted to be transferred. Of course he did. Obviously he did. He's at risk in the men's because of his position. It's going to be abused, human nature. He's going to go to the the women's prison, and he's going to become the abuser because all of a sudden now he has all the power. Mills asserted that while Monroe had been accused of sexual harassment in other cases since moving to Logan in April 2019, the cases were largely without merit and in some instances driven by transphobia. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know that these aren't legit cases and it was just an escalation, and every time that you blame these legit cases on transphobia that it didn't encourage the person and make everybody else say, well, obviously you can get away with anything, so can't say anything. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? I would more than likely guarantee that probably yes, that is what happened. Transphobia exists everywhere, both out here and on the street and in prison. It is not surprising that there are some people who feel uncomfortable with her presence in a women's prison, Mills said, because she has certain utensils. Those certain utensils do several different things. One, it will make her the most strong female in the prison. She will be able to overpower other females. What does that mean? That means she has power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You put her in a pod with 40 other females, 50 other females, 60 other females. She'll be the strongest female there. She can have whoever she wants. Of course, they don't want. They would be uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable. I mean, where do we stop? Where does logic dictate that, duh, of course this is going to happen. And just by the subject matter, even me saying the word duh, probably this video will be hit. So give me a thumbs up, a like, a comment, a subscribe, a share would be awesome. But that's what I got for you. Common sense. We've got to go by what you have down there. I mean, human nature. People are not altruistic. That's what I got for you. I will see you guys on the next one.